Hello, Susie and Sean and Pablo and the cat that rules the roost. My heart goes out to all of you. I'm sorry I won't be there on November 2nd, but I wanted to celebrate Paul. So I'd like to share a few stories about him. This is called Paul Recalled. Many families and friends can talk about Paul's intellectual capacity and of his knowledge for and love of American and Irish history, and of course, for his fierce love of his family and loyalty toward his friends. Few, with the exception of my older brother, Jim, can give you multiple examples of the way in which Paul used humor to steer through so many obstacles and roadblocks along his bumpy way through life. His earliest influences included Mad Magazine, The Three Stooges, and international wrestling on television. In fact, when Paul, Jim, and I began wrestling with one another, Paul may be attributed with his very own effective hold, the Tasmanian toe hold. So I would like to recount numerous anecdotes that testify to the fact that Paul was the family jokester and that he followed in the footsteps of our Uncle Dickie, under whom he mentored, as well as honoring Coyote Trickster going back before time began. Most friends or family have heard Paul refer to his love for Mark Twain as a humorist who shaped what we might call a frontier type of humor that brings us all down to earth. For Paul, comedy was a great leveler. There was a definitive cinematic side to Paul's humor. He was deeply influenced by Charlie Chaplin, the Marx Brothers, Peter Sellers, Woody Allen, and of course, Mel Brooks. And if you have time, I would suggest you Google Peter Sellers and the Monkey Grinder. It's one of the best scenes, and I never get tired of watching it. So I put together a few snapshots of my brother Paul and the various ways that he enjoyed humor. Take one. When Paul was a mere pollywog, his family went to the headwaters of the great Mississippi. He spied a small stream amidst others and seized the opportunity of jumping over it. Now, he said, I can always tell others that I have jumped over the wide and vast Mississippi River. Take two. Picture yourself plopped down in a plushly upholstered chair in the lobby of the Imperial Drake Hotel in Chicago. Many different people are parading about, some more stuffy than the extravagant furniture. Out of the corner of your eye, you noticed a well-dressed, fully suited man with glasses walking toward the front desk. He has a slight limp in his right leg that follows a particular syncopation. Step right, step left, crumple. Step right, step left, crumple. Behind this gentleman, you see a young man in his mid-teens with a round head like Charlie Brown's, hedgehog haircut, a little shorter than the man in front of him. There is a distinct wink in his eye. He continues to mimic the man's syncopated walk, all the time making sure that he is not caught by either the man approaching the front desk nor the man behind it. Paul rarely got caught when he pantomimed others in motion. Take 3. Paul had a very dynamic relationship with our Uncle Dickie, who was his mentor for humor, nothing high class. When Uncle Dickie was staying with us and working as a plumber in Chicago, the Denver area had a lull in work that time. He, Uncle Dickie, would take a dried blowfish and wake Polly up with it. For anyone not familiar with a dried blowfish, imagine a small balloon with numerous curvy spikes on it and bulging eyes. This was the object that Uncle Dickie used to rub ever so gently along Paul's face, singing such things as, "Polly, Polly, time to get up," or "Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey." Needless to say, Paul was a very quick understudy and began a similar wake-up call for Uncle Dickie. Take 4. One summer, Jim, Paul, and I went up to the Rocky Mountains to fish for trout with Uncle Dickie. There was an established custom that we would sleep in a canvas tent while Uncle Dickie got the cozy truck camper all to himself. In the morning, Jim and I had to get the fire going. Paul went along with the understanding, but with a slight twist. He borrowed Uncle Dickie's sleeping bag from out of the camper at sunset and was quite comfy in the tent. Uncle Dickie couldn't figure out where the sleeping bag had gone, and he was a bit cold that night. The next morning, he saw Paul with a shit-eating grin because he had outjoked the ultimate joker. Take 5. Sometimes Paul liked to test the level of gullibility amongst his friends and family. He actually convinced a friend that Mr. Ed, the talking horse, was a real zebra. You see, Paul began, if you look real close at the screen, there are lines that constantly move down, and that's what hides the stripes of the zebra, making him look like a horse. Take 5. An even better example of taking advantage of people's innocence happened when Paul was a young boy in Delaware. He convinced our mother that General Mills was about to put a new cereal, Snacker Jacks, on supermarket shelves. Paul was so good at persuading Mom and the manager, he had also had the manager promise him to call him as soon as the new product came in. Take 6. One April 1st weekend, Paul promised to make pancakes for the entire family, not something he did very often. The family, were amazing. The pancakes were amazingly flavorful and thick as the family sat down. In fact, the entire family was speechless for a short spell, not because they were at a loss for words, but because the thickened peanut butter batter had silenced us all at a most memorable moment. Take 7. By now, you might think that Paul put himself above others. He did not. In fact, he enjoyed laughing at himself as well as laughing with others. He told me this story a few times over the years. Paul was working in prisons at the time in California. He decided that he wanted to see the historic Philadelphia prison, which was an attempt to treat inmates humanely through Quaker insight and compassion. It was late in the afternoon when he gained entrance, and, as often happened with Paul, he was drawn by immense curiosity to read all the placards and take a careful look at the artifacts. Suddenly, the lights went out. It was at that moment, in the dark, that Paul realized he was himself a teacher of folks serving time, now a prisoner. He moved toward the only light he could follow and ended up at a loading dock where workers were as surprised to see him after official hours as he was to see them. The irony within this historic incident amused him greatly, so much so that he loved to tell the story about when he was an unexpected victim of humorous circumstances. That's pretty much the enough skits and takes for you to get, but I will miss my brother Paul and his tremendous sense of humor that lifted us all as we moved through life. And even when things really got down, he would flip the perspective. I've been down so long, he would begin and conclude with, that the belly of a snake seemed like the celestial heavens. Take care.